Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. I'm Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. You can follow me on Instagram and Threads at Movies TV Mad X Twitter at Movies TV Mad, YouTube Movies TV Mad, 3 separate words. Today I want to talk about Superman 2025. Yet again, yes, I'm going to bore the life out of you about that film until I actually get to see it. I want to talk about Man of Steel, and I want to talk about Mr. David Ayer. First of all, I want to talk about these ridiculous Snyder versus Gunn wars. These online battles between the James Gunn fans and the Zack Snyder fans, right? Most of you have children. Most of you have partners. Do you think about what kind of impression you're making on them? Now, I'm very grateful that I love James Gunn's comic book movies and Zack Snyder's comic book movies. I probably slightly prefer Zack's stuff than James's stuff, but I love what James has done. I think it's really good. I love that Superman trailer, as you all know. But I think these battles, no one can win these battles. It's ridiculous. It really is. I kind of felt guilty this week for actually liking a trailer because I felt I was betraying a side of the fandom. And that's a shame, and nobody should have to feel that way. Now, the Superman, for example, the Superman 2025 trailer may be popping with beautiful colour, but in terms of Superman, it's a very, very somber trailer, and I'm here for it. And I mean, for you James Gunn fans going after the Snyder fans, didn't you see the Man of Steel Easter eggs in that trailer? Think about it, right? He's bleeding from the mouth in Man of Steel when he goes into the scout ship for the first time. He's not for the first time when he's captured by Zod. He gives himself up to Zod, right? He's bleeding from the mouth. When the first time, his first attempt to fly, he crashes and burns. He falls to the floor. We notice how he's thrown to the floor. He drops to the floor in the beginning of James's Superman 2025 trailer. Then we see someone throwing something on his head. He's hated, or we think he's hated. I mean, I do have that whole Ultraman theory, but who knows if that's right or wrong. So he gets all the hate that he got in BVS. So there's so much Snyderverse love in that trailer. So if James Gunn can put so much Snyderverse, so many Snyderverse Easter eggs in one trailer, what are you guys arguing about? But it is ironic, there's a great slow motion moment. It's not like Zack Snyder invented slow motion, but people hate Zack Snyder for too much slow motion. Isn't it interesting? People are loving James Gunn for doing things that Snyder did, that they hated. That's very, very interesting. And it's clear, look, there's a lot of stuff. There's love for Superman 78. He's ticking quite a few boxes, but it's also clear that he's going to go in his own direction. This is what Bryan Singer attempted to do with Superman Returns. And look, that's interesting with Superman Returns, isn't it? Bryan Singer blamed poor Brandon Routh for the failure of Superman Returns. I love Superman Returns, but let's not get it twisted. It wasn't Brandon Routh, Brian, that gave a 2006 movie the pacing of a 1978 movie. It wasn't Brandon Routh who decided to have such little action in the movie. As I say, I love the movie, but there's reasons why that movie didn't work. It wasn't Brandon Routh who lazily put pre-visualization CGI flying sequences in the final cut of a movie. Look carefully when he's flying. At one point, it looks unfinished. The CGI on the flying and his face looks unfinished. And at the end, when he's flying around the earth, when he finishes, that kind of Christopher Reeve type of moment, right, from Superman 78. When you look at his face, it's unfinished, the CGI. That's no way to, that should never be in a final cut of any movie. So Brian, you should never have blamed Brandon Routh, who was absolutely outstanding. So I did love that Superman 2025 trailer. I did think it was utterly exciting. I did think John Murphy's music was outstanding. It got me hyped for that movie. It absolutely did. And no one's more happier that it's breaking viewing records. People saying, oh, people, how can the studio use it for hype? I remember the days when trailers were just like this thing you saw. Trailers are marketing. Of course they're using it for hype. That's the whole damn point. I know some people who don't want this movie to be successful may be angry about this, but those people, all those people did view it. They are interested in Superman. Everyone's talking about Superman again. And as a boyhood Superman fan, that makes me so happy. All I ever wanted was a great Superman movie. But don't get it twisted, right? This is one trailer, one great trailer. The rest of the movie could still be on the cutting room floor, as it is, because James has admitted himself he's still editing the movie. Unfinished VFX, we don't know what this movie's going to be. They polished a teaser trailer, and that's great. I can take any bad movie and make a great teaser from it. I could take Superman 4 and give you the moment when Superman's addressing the UN. I can give you some good shots of Nuclear Man treading on the floor and creating a nuclear footprint. I can show a clip of the article that says Superman says drop dead to kid and make a really cool Superman 4 The Quest for Peace teaser. So that teaser being great means absolutely nothing. But what the views say is that people are interested in seeing this movie. So hopefully James Gunn makes a great movie. But let's talk about Man of Steel. I rewatched it twice this week. I mean, I'm always on the Superman kind of vibe. I'm rewatching Smallville from series 1 again. And I watched Man of Steel twice this week. And my takeaway, yet again, is there should never have ever been a DCEU. We should have had a Man of Steel trilogy like we had a Dark Knight trilogy. So after Man of Steel, we should have had 2 more movies. We should have had a Man of Steel 2 and a Man of Steel 3. Also, with a story from Nolan and Goyer, and a screenplay by David Goyer, and directed by Snyder in the other 2 movies as well. Once that trilogy was done, they could have seen if the studio, if Nolan, Goyer and Snyder, and the fans, the public, had appetite for these guys to adapt another live-action DC character, as they did with Batman and Superman. What they shouldn't have done is do what they did with the DCEU, start the DCEU. But Snyder, Nolan and Goyer didn't want a DC extended universe. They didn't want to do a Justice League. That was all the studio. They didn't want to announce a slate. That was all the studio trying to chase the success of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, when all WB should have done is allow Nolan, Goyer and Snyder to make a Man of Steel trilogy. And that would have been really, really cool. I think I've spoken before, maybe even in my last video, how I would have went at a Man of Steel sequel. I would have finished Man of Steel differently. Superman would have been sucked into the Phantom Zone. And, he finds Supergirl there. But meanwhile, Brainiac is on Earth. So when basically what happens is the Kryptonians and Superman, including Zod, Superman doesn't kill Zod in my version, go back to Earth and Supergirl, and they have to fight Brainiac, but Brainiac banishes them in the in one of his bottled universes that happens to be Kandor. So then Supergirl finds her parents there, and that will be Man of Steel 3. But clearly David Goyer had an actual plan for a Man of Steel 2 and a Man of Steel 3. And they didn't allow him to do it because the film made 650 and not the billion that they wanted. It was they were reacting, it was reaction after reaction after reaction, and that's what went wrong there. Now, finally, let's talk about Mr. David Ayer, who was doing, and I've mentioned this before, but I want to mention it again because Variety have got this, and talking about this. So David Ayer did this Release the Air cut thing, right, with his wife. And all the fans were loving it and everything. This happened to be on the premiere of Creature Commandos. So earlier this week, David Ayer comes on and goes, oh, I didn't realise we were doing it during the premiere of Creature Commandos. I would never want to get in the way of a director, a creative's vision, blah, blah, blah. Then he asked fans not to hashtag Release the Air cut on the day, which was on Thursday, of the release of this Superman trailer. So everyone went after him. And as I said a couple of days ago, I had to go at him as well, constructively, because it came across all disingenuous, and he's now playing the victim, right? Because people have come after him over it. The truth is, the studio came after him. And probably James did as well. James said, you know, what are you doing there? You know, because they're scared. They want as much hype as possible, and they don't want anything getting in the way. But for me, you can hashtag release the haircut and still release a trailer, right? But this is how nervous they are. So clearly, James and the studio told him off. He got scared because he still wants to work in the industry, and he needs WB and James to help him release the haircut, obviously. So he towed the line. But what, and then David Ayer came out and goes, oh, you can't even support a director. Look, mate, you were told off. Never insult the fans' intelligence, because fans, people who go and watch movies and scripted entertainment these days, are very, very smart. We're a lot smarter than previous generations. Do you understand? So we know when you're, you know, trying to pull the wool over our eyes. So they can make as many articles about toxic fandom as they want. I'm saying toxic Hollywood. But it's been an almighty week, everyone. A very exciting week to be a Superman fan, a DC fan. And yes, I love Zack Snyder. I love James Gunn, and I'm not ashamed of that. I'm not getting, I'm not getting involved with these Gunn and Snyder wars. And by the way, Gunn and Snyder wars, you are being out-trended by Chloe's versus Klarna, so you may as well just give up. Love what you love.